Welcome to the Pell City Podcast, and today we're talking about the arts and everything there is with the arts and the creators that are making phenomenal advances and stamps in not only the industry, but in the lives of people and changing the trajectory of what it means to be a creative. So please welcome the one, the only Elias Hendricks, Vox Futura. We're going to get into that and all of his travels. And specifically, we're going to start by talking about Vox Academy. So I'm really excited about talking about this today. What actually inspired you to create it? Let's go from the beginning to now.
Okay. Well, Vox Academy is, I guess, the brainchild of what I experienced when I moved back home after all my travels. Of course, my family has a history of education, obviously, with We Care Academy. And, my sister was on the school board and, all of those things. And so when I moved home, I really wanted to take that time to really see what kind of impact I could have in the city, with my unique set of, circumstances, having traveled and done music and everything else. And so I really found a lot of need in our community. Because keep in mind, I moved back during COVID. So at that time, kids were in school, not in school. There's a lot of, educational gaps. And so I took that time, about a year or so just to kind of examine the area, the Birmingham City School System specifically, and see how I could develop, programs based on my skill set that would satisfy a need in our community. And so that's what Vox Academy really sought to do. And, after a couple of years, we've been doing just that.
So in one sentence, what would you say the mission? How would you describe the mission?
Music, movement, and money.
Okay. Dive deep.
Okay.
Wow.
So music, because obviously that is my love and my passion. And I also feel very strongly about its impact on, the forming brain. Music has so many different use cases when it comes to how you can retain information and really develop, and a lot of young kids love, and all of us, music is one of the things that every human can really understand and appreciate. Movement, because from a wellness perspective, making sure that our kids are moving and using movement as a lifestyle choice, not necessarily just in sports, but in yoga, in Tai Chi, and, just combining those physical exercises with the things you do with music. And money, of course, because one of the main things that we are really lacking in from a community perspective, not just kids, but all of us, is a comprehensive understanding of money, how to use it and not let it use you, and some of the foundational principles, some of the things that we teach in the music or in our summer program are foundational principles around money. What is it and how you can use it to, create a life for yourself of success.
That's very true. And you've been doing that for a while, traveled the world, using your gifts and talents. So we got to talk about that. Like really, give kind of high level overview of the man, Elias Hendricks, and, some of the adventures that you've been able to be on. Where did it start? And I guess some of the places that have been your favorites in your journey.
So many. At this point, if you're going to go highest level, I've been to over 30 countries. I've been to 60, 70 cities across the world. And it really all started with me at 19. I made my debut in an opera called Romeo and Juliet in Italy. It was the crown jewel of a medieval festival in this small town called Città della Pieve. And I remember everything about it. At the top of this town was a cloistered nunnery that I got a chance to perform for those ladies. There was a lady named Serenella who cooked every single day, and I was at her restaurant every day eating all kinds of food. And I got a chance to really perform a complete opera in Italian in an Italian city. And it was, daunting getting through that and having that experience. Really I had the bug at that point. And I was in school. I was a sophomore in college when this happened. This was for my summer. And so I did that. I left school, went to New York, and part of my studies were to travel. So I traveled from New York to LA. I studied with a man named Seth Riggs, who was Michael Jackson's teacher, flew to Germany.
No kidding.
Yeah, Michael Jackson's teacher, Seth Riggs. He taught a lot of other people like Josh Groban, Whoopi Goldberg, a lot of people. Natalie Cole. The list goes on. So studied with him, and then I flew to Germany to study with Beyonce's very first voice teacher. And all these teachers were opera singers, and they taught me how to cross over. But again, going out there and studying with this African American man named David Lee Brewer, going out to Germany. And then from there, I moved to Hong Kong to do Simba and the Lion King. And so that was 2.5 years of an amazing experience in a completely modern city. I mean, it's like walking to the future. I did that and traveled the world after that for an entire year on a cruise ship to 60 cities across the world. We did an entire world tour on this ship. And then moved to London, where I developed my skills full circle using classical music, musical theater, and soul, created a vocal group called Vox Futura that ended up touring Europe for 8 years, and also did the West End. I ended up playing a Birmingham legend, Dennis Edwards in Motown, the musical on the West End. So many different opportunities. I was the lead piano vocalist at the #1 club in London as well during that time.
Wow.
But just, being creative and audacious about my skills and talents. So London was an amazing experience. From a vacation standpoint, just places around the world that I really love to go. We spoke about this before, but, the Gold Coast of Africa, it's not just for history. It's luxury. It's beautiful. The weather is wonderful. The people are wonderful. I would encourage anyone to go to anywhere there, from Ghana to the Ivory Coast to Senegal. They're all wonderful. There's a beautiful tucked sovereign nation in the Caribbean called Dominica that is amazing. They don't even have they have not a single Walmart, McDonald's, Taco Bell. Everything is farm to table. Everything is local. They have rainforests and beaches, and again, it's not a place you would necessarily know because our Western culture does not have its hands and teeth in there. So we don't get a lot of advertising about that place, but I've been there a few times. Bahia, Brazil,
Wow.
Salvador, that place, the largest conglomeration of African people outside of Africa. It's one of the places that has some of the ancient African traditions still intact, from Orishas to everything, and wonderful jewelry. I mean, there's just so many wonderful places. I've been Alaska, which is my most recent trip, only in the summer,
No
But in
doubt.
the summer, some of the nicest weather you'll have anywhere in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to Alaska too in the summer, and absolutely beautiful. And you're so right. No other time.
You got 3 or 4 months.
No doubt about it. So you talked about your vocal training, your vocal education, and all of the teachers and the experts that you've been able to sit under. What do you think one of the or some of the biggest misconceptions about vocal training and when it comes to, performing arts, and why is it so important?
Is your body. It's you have to people treat the voice like it's an instrument outside of yourself, even the way we sing, you really have to use your body as an instrument and learn how to use the instrument, not just here, but your entire body, in order to develop a technique that will stand the test of time. And that's one thing I learned from opera, in my operatic training, is how to use your, the frequency that your voice emits and how that coincides with each of the frequencies that you have in your body, the chakras. Taking a scientific approach and a physical approach to music from a technical standpoint really allows you to have a technique that can be transferable into any sound you want to make. You understand what I mean? From speaking to opera to soul music to gospel, it all comes from one type of vocal emission. And that's what I had the privilege of learning through my studies and my travel. Is not, people see me, I've sung every genre you could ever imagine, and that my show displays that now, the one that I do. But it all has one origin place, and that is the vocal cords. And using your breath properly and vowels and your tongue as an instrument with your body is really how you learn how to preserve your voice in anything, from speaking to singing.
So you bring a lot of those tools and techniques into Vox Academy and with your students. How would you, say that you nurture those students and help them to develop the confidence that you have when being a performer, and then, also with knowing that they can do it, they can actually pursue a creative lifestyle?
Well, I break it all down. I think what I've found, especially with these kids, is that music is the tool to get to what they want to do. And so I try not to superimpose what it is that I did onto them. I get to know each individual person, and I use music as a tool to inspire confidence within them. So, for example, one of my students wants to be a mechanical engineer, which is amazing. So I'm not teaching them music. I'm teaching them how to express themselves, how to use their voice and have confidence in when they speak, so that when they show up for a job interview, the voice resonates, the confidence comes through. So I'm using ancient operatic techniques to help declamatory speech techniques for them. And they don't know that. It all boils down to, anecdotes that I've learned that mean a lot has a lot of technical facility within them that then they can use for confidence building and things like that.
Now, when you look at the arts in the region and in Birmingham, what do you see some of the gaps are, and how does Vox Academy strive to fill those gaps when it comes to the arts?
Well, arts in general, creativity in general, if you're creative, what's one of the things you think that, most people say? You don't know how to manage your money. You don't know anything about the business. And so what I've learned is I did develop those techniques, and they've helped me in my career, but I also, have studied business. And one thing I know is transferable is the money aspects, which is the most important, if you ask me, aspect of my camp, is the financial literacy component. You can develop your talent over time. You don't have to be perfect now. But as soon as you step out and call yourself a creative, you are your own business. Like Jay-Z said, I'm a businessman, right? I'm a businessman, right? You got to understand these principles, no matter what you do, whether you're in visual arts, whether you are in vocal arts, instrumental, you have to develop your business principles. And so I really strive to make sure that each student, which is why we have a curriculum through the Youth Financial Literacy group, that teaches each individual about money. So we teach them about the foundations of money. So for our middle school kids, we learn about what is a checkbook. We learn some of the terms around what each individual thing on a checkbook is. That's chapter 1. We learn how to save. We give them a module on, different pots to put your money in. What does $10 do for you? What should you do with that? And then by the end, we're teaching them things like simple versus compound interest. And so instead of just having that book, at the end of every module is a musical component, a song that they then have to learn, that they then, if it's rap that this particular 20 or 30 kids are into, then we're going to create something around wealth, or, how those principles can be translated into a song. And what that does is takes another component of learning into them. So when they're singing that song in the back of their head, they're remembering the principles that they may have forgotten from reading that book.
What kind of students are you looking for with the academy?
Well, anybody, really. This camp is not, I don't call it necessarily a specific music camp, but we do prioritize the music component, but it's for anyone that is a child that needs to learn these principles. Because what I found is no matter what these kids are going into, they don't have these principles. And the good thing about the music is it's not just about them learning how to do music. It's about the music informing their studies in these financial literacy components. And then when you incorporate the music and the movement into it, then they're also learning about wellness as well. So these are principles that anyone should be able to have access to.
That's a unique approach, because, you're developing the whole person. And it's crazy because education, you go through 12 years of formal education, and then, on to more. And then you get these little nuggets or opportunities along the way, like Vox Academy. But it sounds to me, you can help to train minds early. So even with their, formal education, going through school and everything, their mind is already thinking about the impact that they can make.
Yes.
Once they get to, the level of adulthood or going into the marketplace. You are, like you said, developing business women, businessmen. So what would you say your goal is for, driving ultimately economic impact in some of the communities that some of these kids are coming from.
Well, I'm happy you said that, because the multi-layered approach, especially this year, I incorporated a component about benevolence and giving back. I brought a vocal band in from Wales, who's one of the members' father was integral and actually built the 16th Street Rosary that exists there. And we came back and they brought different things that they're going to take back to Wales to, give social impact to their community. And so after we finished our modules, we had the whole component about what we do when we get money, because some of those kids in there are going to be millionaires. Some of them are going to have wealth. And so instead of them thinking about it in the terms that they'll get on social media about how to spend it, right? Where to spend it, it's about reinvesting into your own community. And so that they can know, as they learn the very basic principles, before you even learn, you get your checkbook and your principles about simple and compound interest. As you grow in your understanding of business and those principles, you already have in the back of your mind, as soon as I get what I'm doing, I'm almost tithing it back into my community as a ritual.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. And so you're bringing that global macro to the local micro, and providing opportunities for collaborations like wherever. So, I know you're definitely looking for local, state, regional organizations in groups that you can collaborate with and partner with. But talk about that, like, who can help to, advance the mission and the goals of Vox Academy.
Well, any organization that is interested in enriching the lives of our kids, of our students, right? So that goes from, I'll throw some names out like Alabama Power through their foundation. There's someone that could be extremely integral in helping us. Individual donors that have a heart that want to give back and help the students in our community. The Birmingham City School System, superintendents, the city council and the mayor's office, these type of municipal organizations that have funding set up to give to the community. I want them to know how important it is and how different my program really is. These children that come out of my program are retaining this information at such a high level. And I think that's the important part of the musical component. And so, anyone that really wants to give back to the community, no gift is too small. Time, if you don't have the money, time is also a wonderful tool to give back as well. So I really want to encourage anyone who has a heart for our youth to, contact me and see how we can work together to create this impact that's just sorely needed in our community.
And you started Vox Futura, your group, and you toured for, you said 8 years, right?
Yeah, we're still touring.
You're still touring. So I'm not sure if there's ever been an opera in Pell City, like a show, but we have this phenomenal, it's a beautiful facility. It's the SEPA, for short, SEPA, a building. It's the Center for Education and Performing Arts, and it's here in Pell City. But it would be great to have a show of your caliber to come through and show kids, the opportunities, and, to see a familiar face from, right down I-20 from Birmingham that has just been all over the place. But talk about some of the I guess the successes that you've seen, with performing locally and, kind of in the region or whatever with kids and just people being able to see the chance to do something on the grand scale like you've been able to do.
Well, that's a great thing that you've asked me, because, moving home, I had a different model for Vox Futura in Europe. It's a very different type of, market. It's much more, grandiose. So I was performing with the Royal Albert Hall with the full symphony. But when it comes to kind of a grassroots approach, I really kind of scaled from a lower offering all the way up to full orchestras now. So even for some communities that don't have necessarily the full orchestra, or just have, let's say a piano and a couple of chairs, I have a full show of classical soul that's just me that can get into that space. So I'm really trying to find a way to tell my story through music on different levels. So at this point, it doesn't matter whether it's a 200 seat or 20,000 seats. It really, classical soul and the story that I have can come to any venue at this point.
Classical soul, what is that?
That is the
Describe it.
term for Vox Futura's music. Classical soul is soulful classical music. It is essentially taking all of the principles and the beauty of this ancient music called classical music and putting it with the music and sounds of today. So, for example, and you may not have even heard something like this before. Imagine Casey and JoJo, just for us and our being 90s, from the 90s. Imagine Casey and JoJo with a piece of French opera from 1850. Imagine Sam Cooke, Unchained Melody with some opera, Italian opera. These are the type of things that I do, reimagining Stevie Wonder and John Legend in classical form. I have a song that we do with Vox Futura that's very popular, that we take John Legend's All of Me and we completely orchestrate it with strings, slow the tempo down a little bit. And with our harmonies, we use classical harmonies. And what it does is take that element of love, right? Instead of that kind of falsetto that he does, we sing it full, and we take and the words are transformed just by the accompaniment and the classicalization of the text and of the melody line.
Let me ask you something. I want to ask, because I've always wanted to know, I guess this, like as a DJ, you have like internal, I guess the best way to describe it is like you have kind of internal moments, right? Where you can close your eyes and it's like something happens, spiritually to you when you are, when the energy is just perfect in the room, you're playing the right song, you're saying the right things on the mic, and the crowd is just feeling it. Just everything just feels, it gives you a different kind of high.
Mm-hmm.
As an opera singer, my goodness, the level of euphoria that I can only imagine that you feel internally when you know that note that you hit just fills the room, and it's something that explodes.
Yeah.
Can you like describe what that feels like? And can you put that into words and relate it back to a performance? Because oh my goodness, I can only imagine. Like it gives me chill bumps to even think about.
So the beauty of classical music is that you're really emitting that vibration from your body. There's no microphone in a lot of senses, right? And you're using your body as an instrument. You're not just letting that microphone and the music create that vibration. So your intention, how you feel as you emit that, is how you manipulate the room and how you create that beautiful moment. It's way more, you have more control over that as an opera singer. And so I'll give you one story. So I did a concert at the Lyric Opera with Vox Futura, and I wrote a piece with my cousin Sam Robinson about the middle passage, African Lament. And at the end of that piece is a long high note where the narrator who's singing, which was me at the time, he's singing about my home, my home. He misses his home, right? And he's singing it, and it's a full orchestra behind you. You got like a blaring jazz trumpet with strings, and you're just emanating my home, and it just soars over all of that music. And so as I'm feeling it, tears are flowing down my face. But what's happening is that you transcend yourself, right? By the point of that song, I'm already in it. You know how it is when, you can see it from church, that second verse, you get into that bridge, you embody that now, right? So by that point in the song, I'm so into the message that I'm trying to convey that you can feel the entire room on one vibration. And it's the vibration that you have cultivated that entire time. And so it's an amazing privilege and power, right? There's very little that you can do with your human body that can create that kind of power over the psyche, over the emotions of people. And so, that's why I take it very seriously. I work hard not to create music that hurts, but it heals or tells a story of our overcoming and our struggle, right? So it is, that moment is just one of them, singing in stadiums when you're singing classical music and you get to that point where you realize every single person is focused on every breath. you know? It's an awesome feeling.
Yeah. What
It's
I mean,
addictive almost.
I
DJ, you know.
yeah. I could only I mean, what an amazing, amazing gift. Like, oh my goodness, I couldn't and it's almost like, gosh, something like that coming out of you, it's almost I don't know, like, wow, if you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, man, that came out of me, you
Yeah, I
know.
mean, you can imagine this
I
little
was
19-year-old boy in Italy, you know what I'm saying? Imagining feeling that for the first time. But this is the beauty of the camp, right? I know what that feels like. I know how to create that. And so you take that out of just opera. And if you can create that kind of confidence within a person who's not even trying to like my one of my students who wants to be a doctor, right? You know, you create that kind of understanding of how to use your body and be free of all this fear, then you can speak with confidence. You can let that energy emit through your fingers as you heal someone as a doctor. This is all one thing. Power is power. It's not necessarily just the music side. It's taking those principles and bringing real life applications in a way that these kids can understand. And I was looking through my impact report. I was in tears, watching these kids and the things that they said that they really got out of the camp. I'm seeing that little nugget that I got when I was 15. You know what I'm saying? And I know what that will do for them in 20 years. They don't, but I can see that seed was planted. And it really is about that power that you talk about.
That's amazing. So what's next for Vox Academy? What's next for Vox Futura? And what's next for Elias Hendricks?
Well, okay, Vox Academy, I'm hitting the ground running, just bringing awareness to the camp. This is our second year successfully at Phillips, and I'm very, very much so dedicated to making sure that every kid, especially in the Birmingham City school systems, gets access to this. So I'm going to be working in the school systems in the fall, and I'm raising funds to be able to go to some of these schools that are even less, with kids that are even less fortunate than some of the ones that I was able to reach, who have to work during the summer, to take care of bills and things like that. School in particular, like Hayes Middle School. A lot of those kids aren't even able to attend summer camp. So I want Vox Futura to be something that's in the city school systems, in different schools year round. And so that by the time we get to the next summer, that name of Vox Academy has been transferred through the school system and we make an even bigger impact in the summer. So that's what I'm working on now. Not just summer program, but year round enrichment through these principles of music, movement, and money. Vox Futura vocal group. I'm working to bring Vox Futura back to Birmingham in an orchestrated show in the fall at some point. And we are also working with some of my national connections to bring it back on tour in 2026 to different places. We've been to 25 different cities across the country so far. And so I'm working with some orchestras and some performing arts centers around the country to bring us back on tour again with Vox Futura. And for me personally, I am working on an album, a personal album. Just imagine, if I could break it down to something that's easily recognizable, just imagine John Legend in a classical form. So it's me on the piano, really singing in an acoustic way some of these classical and soul fusions. And I'm going to take that into markets that, again, like I'm doing with Vox Academy, finding those niches that don't have orchestras, that don't have large performing arts centers. I want to take this into HBCUs, smaller towns, this model, so that I'm reaching as many people as I can with this art form.
Well, it would be great to have you in Pell City. So, driving down I-20, exit 156.
Okay.
Hit that SEPA building and we will hear some phenomenal voices and it would be great to have you there. But tell everybody how they can link with you, how they can learn more about Vox Academy and everything that you have going on.
Well, if you want to know more about Vox Academy, you can visit our website, www.voxfutura.com. And that itself, there's a link for Vox Academy. You can read our impact report and some of the amazing stories that we had, like, Joy Craig, an 8th grader that got a full scholarship this year to college, Yeah, we actually made that happen for one of our kids. So you can go and read it there. You can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook at Elias Hendricks on Instagram and Buddy Hill on Facebook. And you can follow Vox Futura on every platform under the name Vox Futura. We're the only one.
Well, it is awesome to talk to you. I'm a fan, and I cannot wait for the album. Oh my goodness! And you know, and what I guess I'm excited about most is it's going to be a learning experience. You know, it's going to be a learning journey because, you know, you fusing two totally different, you know, genres or styles of music that we're used to together and, you know, creating something dope is one of the words that I like to use, but something dope that, you know, will just expand your horizons, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and everything. So thank you for your gift. Thank you for giving your gift. Thank you for not being selfish with your gift. And, you know, thank you for looking out for the next generation. Cause that's what it's, you know, that's what it's all about, is creating spaces for people to be successful and to see someone that has done it and who is willing to show you how to do it too is just, you know, it's an amazing thing. So thank you for your gift. Real talk. Thank you for your gift, Elias.
It's my pleasure. It's my mission.
And thank you for being on the Pell City podcast. Of course, we will have another opportunity for you to link, of course, you know, so stay tuned to social media platforms so you can stay connected to everything Elias Hendricks of Vox Academy and Vox Futura. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode of the Pell City podcast is brought to you by networkwithexperts.com. Log on now and grab the Content Marketing Essentials bundle today. Thanks for watching.